Hello and welcome to another edition of Spindle TV exclusive for you wonderful and supportive exclusive members. How are y'all doing tonight? Tonight we are kind of jumping to a different project. We're not going to finish up the billiard project that we were doing last week. That's next week's class. We're going to finish that up. We'll talk about doing some V-carve on those vectors and stuff. But tonight we are going to look at rotary work and specifically a specific type of creating kind of a twist in spindles and statues and rotary projects all together. We're going to be doing kind of a decorative leg and everything. And the lesson is not just on how to make, the twisted leg and everything. We're going to be looking at all the whole process of making the entire 3D model, composite model, and everything, but that's going to be the main feature of it. So I'm joined on screen with Matt and JR. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Wonderful, good. Wonderful. Matt was telling me behind the scenes that for those of you, it's a good idea actually. If you don't have Vectric Aspire, if you have Vectric V-carve Desktop or Pro, I don't know why I didn't think of it. You can download a trial version. You just can't save the projects that you've completed to like run on an actual machine, but you have all the features and everything. Like if you ever wanted to try it out and follow along and stuff, and all. But keep in mind, just like I say every week that we work inspired. Next week we'll we're going to get back to V carving and things like that. With that billiard sign, we'll finish up making the models, but I'll show you how to V-carve a sign like that as well. But keep in mind that everything that we learn, whether it's how to merge or add or subtract components to create this composite model, all of that stuff applies whether you have Desktop, Pro, or Aspire. So there is a lesson to be learned here. Creating the vectors and stuff. There's a lesson to be learned there. So stick with me if you don't have Aspire, and if you want to play along and run along, you can download the trial version like Matt was explaining to me, which is a great idea. Matt, thanks for that heads up. All right, so let's jump on the screen and let's see what we got going on. Guys, it's good to see you. Let me see here. Hold on a second. We got a check going here. Let me do one last thing and then we will rock and roll. In the chat area, I will put a link to the files. I did put the link out in the community post, but I can't find the post in the Digital Woodcarver Owners Exclusive group. I don't know if I didn't post it there or not.
It is posted there.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Then I'm just blind right now. But what I'm going to do is in our chat, I am going to post the link to the Dropbox and where you can download the files for tonight's class and stuff. And I'll be updating them throughout the class. All right, so here we go. So in the chat now is the link and everything. All right, cool games. All right. Okay, let me minimize that down. All right, gentlemen. Well, I still haven't worked out where I'm working on one computer so I can share screens and y'all can stay on the screen with me. So hang out, work in the background. I'll be back with you in just a few minutes. Jerry, it's good to see you again. Matt, thanks for joining me on live. I'll be back with you, gentlemen. I keep looking over here because my computer's over to my side, but I'll look in the camera. I'll see you guys in just a few minutes.
Hey,
here we go. Yes, sir.
You got a blue dot, like just on your chest area.
On the forehead?
Nope. If it was a red dot on your forehead, I'd be worried. But
yeah, like a blue haze around my.
No, like right here, it's a little blue dot. I'm not sure if it's your mouse highlighter.
Pointer.
What?
Ah, it could be. Let me see here. Hold on a second. Let me. I like. Let me see.
It's like right there.
Okay, so are you pulling my leg, or are you making me cut like right here?
Yeah.
I don't see
Are
it.
you seeing it, Matt?
No, I don't see it.
Okay, maybe it's just coming through on my side, but
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, I'm thinking like, does anybody have a blue sight laser or something on my chest?
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was the blue halo because there's a halo around me because of my green screen.
Yeah.
But I don't. It wouldn't be a
No,
dot.
I don't see it. It's just probably some aliasing on your screen.
All right, cool. All right, here we go. Let's see here. Let's pop that there, and let's get me down in the bottom left corner. Let's go to camera 2. And the bottom left. All right. So what we've got going on here is a bunch of things going on this screen, right? But in the files, and even if you import the vectors into your version of the software, if you don't have 11.5 or 12, 11.554 or 12, I did provide the vectors in the files that you can just, create. So we'll start there with the job setup. This job is a Rotary style job. It is 29 inches in length, 3.5 inches in diameter. We are using the cylinder axis as our rotation center point, Z0 position, and the bottom left corner. And my rotary axis revolves around my x-axis. So I've got that choice there. And that's where we are at. Now, in the layers category, 29 by 3.5, guys. In the layers category, you will see that we have a bunch of layers all organized and stuff. And I'm going to turn them off so we can deal with them and look at them one by one. So the first thing that we have is we're going to be doing a 2-rail sweep. This is where we have 2 paths. These paths could be straight lines, angled lines, curvy lines, or what have you. And then we have a profile, a shape that's going to follow these 2 paths. And that profile will either stretch or contour or stay the same depending on what the paths do, right? And that's called a 2-rail sweep. Well, we're going to be sweeping horizontally. We're going to be sweeping vertically in this project. And we're going to have a little bit of an angle sweep too. So there are 3 layers in the toolpath project, not toolpath. And the first one is the horizontal rails. So they're in red. It might be hard to see on the screen, but there are 2 rails, one at the top and the bottom here, and then another 2 rails at the end here. We have our vertical 2-rail sweep. They're going to be in blue. And they have these in different positions. Now, these are all going to, these positions of these rails and all of these 2-rail sweeps are based on the profile. We're going to look at the profile here in just a second. But we also have an angular sweep. So we've got 2 rails that are going to kind of sweep at an angle. And that's not just a made-up angle or anything. There's actually a vector that we're going to use that tells us exactly what angle we need to be at and everything. Now, everything is that we're going to be working with is going to be based off of our table leg profile. So this profile here was created and designed from an image. There is an amazing website online called tablelegs.com. And at tablelegs.com, they have a wide variety of table legs that you can purchase, right? And you can also have custom table legs made and stuff too. Well, every one of their table legs comes with has a CAD drawing. And so we are dealing with the radius of an item. So instead of the full leg, we're dealing with half of it. So imagine if there was a virtual line, split down the half, and that table leg was, halved up. And so what we have here is vectors that are based off of that profile. Now, let me move this image down here and everything and see if I can get it to transpose a little bit. Now, the table leg is not fully, the profiles that I've created are not fully based off of the table leg. There's some variation and everything. And that's because we're going to be adding a twist and some other stuff. But for the most part, I really like the look of this table leg. It's a really nice leg on a farm table. It's got a nice taper at the foot with a little bun. And a cove, and then it comes into this really nice taper when it's not a twist. This really nice taper into kind of another bun, into a cove, to a nice little egg shape, if you will, and then into the square upright. Now, when by default, when we work with a rotary axis in Vectric Aspire, when we're looking at a 3D view of a 3D model, when we're looking at a 3D view, when we wrap it, it's always round. You never see the square, like a square blank or anything, or a square leg. We actually have to make that part. And that's going to be the first thing that we do. I'm going to show you how that works. Because otherwise, Vectric is going to show you the object as a cylinder, a round cylinder and everything. But so the image, our table leg profile was based off that image, and tablelegs.com has a wonderful variety. And I bought some actual, they make some beautiful table legs. But they also provide the CAD design for each and every one of their legs. Okay, so aside from that, let's turn the picture off. In our vectors, we are going to have, on this table leg profile, we're going to end up kind of slicing it, if you will, the vectors. We're going to slice it into sections. So this block section up here, by taking a simple line and kind of connecting a line down here, if I were to get rid of this block, I'm left with this section right here, right? So basically, there's two vectors up here that are those two cross sections in those two areas. So we have the square block. We have this nice curved profile. We're going to have a really cool tapered twist. And then we have the foot section. So the same thing with the foot section. It was, cut free, and a copy of it was put up here. So that's what you're seeing. It's just these two green profiles at the top are just copies of what's below, okay, of the actual profile. And then let's close that. Let's go to the components and turn those off for right now. And then also in our layers, we have what's called unwrapped vectors. And that is all of these different wiggly looking shapes and everything. Now, I need you to put on your thinking caps for a moment. We're going to turn off all the vectors for a moment, all the layers. We're going to add a new layer, and I'm going to call this my sample unwrap. And we're going to go into our work area here. Imagine, if you will, that we have a table leg that is 4 inches by 4 inches. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a square 4 by 4. Now, if this was a square blank, and we were looking at the end of that blank, straight down the length of it, this would be the view that we're looking at right here. We're looking at this square blank, okay? If the leg was 29 inches long, bear with me just a second. let's go 4 by 29. Let me get that centered on the board. Okay. This would be if we were looking at a side profile of that square blank, right? So what we want is an end view. So we want that 4 by 4 end view. And in order to, when we're sweeping, when we're doing a 2-rail sweep on a table leg, a spindle, whatever, if that portion of the spindle, of the cylinder, whatever, not cylinder, I can't use the word cylinder because cylinder means round, of the spindle or the leg or the statue, whatever it may be, if that part or section or a portion of it has to have the square 4 corners, then there's 2 ways that we can go about creating them. Number one, we start off with a square blank sized to the size of our table leg. And we actually start the carving where the ornate stuff happens and we skip past the square end or inside if there's a square like in the middle, you know, with the 4 corners and stuff, no flaring or anything like that. We skip past those areas and we only create the carvings where they need to be, and we leave those areas alone and they remain square, right? So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is when the very first thing that we normally do with a rotary axis project is we do a rounding toolpath. It actually goes through and mills off all the corners and then it trues up this blank. So just in case our blank is slightly oversized to our finished project, or it is a little odd in shape and we need to kind of true it up before we make this perfectly sized table leg or what have you, then we would go through our rounding toolpath. It would create a perfectly round cylinder down to the size or diameter we need. And then we have to actually mill the square back into it. We got to mill the flats, 90-degree turn, 90-degree turn, 90-degree turn. So we have our 4 corners again, right? So we're taking it back. We went from square to round back to square. And the purpose for that is, like I said, we are going to utilize the whole leg. It's a little odd shaped. We didn't do any prepping or anything with it. We just threw it on the 4th axis, our rotary axis. We're going to true it up with the CNC, do a rounding toolpath, and then we'll make our square components and all of our other components. And that's generally what I would do. Now, in order to do that, we have to build that square component. Otherwise, Vectric would show it as a round. Now, in this sample, I'm going to take these 2 rails here and I'm going to go into node editing and I'm going to cut the ends off. So delete the span on this end, delete the span on this end, and then I'm going to move this line up here, and I'm going to move this line down here, and I'm going to take my cylinder here, and since my project is a 3.5-inch diameter, I'm going to resize it from the 4. So I'm going to go into the size tool and make it 3.5 by 3.5. And then I'm also going to take a rectangle like this, and I'm going to get rid of the span. So now this represents nothing. It represents a flat piece, a profile that's just that's going to create a round cylinder. If I go into my 2-rail sweep here and I select my bottom line, my top line, and that becomes my drive rails, and I sweep this profile across them, that's going to make a blank cylinder. Let that sweep across. And if we split if we go into the 3D view, let me turn off the components that aren't supposed to be on yet. All right. And bear with me just a moment. Let me put in a new level there, a little sample level. Insert a new level and drag this up there. Excellent. All right. If I were to unwrap the sweep that I just did, then basically we're looking at it instead of a cylinder, we're looking at it unwrapped like a sheet of paper. Think of a paper towel roll that we slice down and just unwrap the sides, unfold the sides. That's what we're looking at here. And if I wrap this up in the Vectric Aspire software or Vectric VCarve Desktop or Pro or anything like that, then we're just looking at a cylinder, right? So no square corners, no nothing. What we need is we have to generate those square corners, and we're going to do that by taking our profile and unwrapping it. And there's a tool. Let me close this two-rail sweep for a moment. There's a tool called a vector unwrapper. Okay, unwrap selected vectors. And when we do that, it's going to ask us if we want to use the center for the contour, if we want to use the center of the workpiece, or if we want to use a custom point. So it's saying, hey, where do you want me to take this vector, this square vector? Where do you want me to unwrap it? Do you want me to unwrap it based off of its center? Based off of, are we rotating around some center point that you've created or your workpiece and all? 99.99% of the time, you're using the center of the contour to unwrap. Okay. Now what happens is it creates this vector. And now let's pull this vector here and take a look at it. Now this square, when it's unwrapped, these points, 1, 2, 3, 4, represent the 4 corners. So if I literally cut that square and I unwrap that flat, my corners are going to be represented as points, and then the areas between from one corner to another is going to bend like a U. So that's what we're seeing here. We have a corner, and then between the two corners, that what's normally a flat is kind of an arc now. So it's corner and arc to the next corner because we just bent it straight up and flat and everything. And so our 4 corners are here. Now, this half from the top corner and this half from the bottom corner, that's where the two ends meet, right? So that's the flat where the two ends meet. So we have a flat corner, another flat on the sides, 2 corners, and a flat on the bottom, right? So when we fold it up, that seam line, this is half of that flat, and this is half of that flat, and it creates that square corner. Now, if I go in and I come in and turn off that component that I just made, and I sweep the newly unwrapped vector, we use our drive rails and then our unwrapped vector, and we sweep that across. What we should see in the Vectric software when it creates is a square blank instead of a round blank, right? So when we unwrap it, let's unwrap it here. Let's turn that over. Ignore all those other vectors for right now. But we have this shape when it's unwrapped and flattened out, this square shape. But when we wrap it up and wrap it around 360 degrees, it creates that square blank. Okay. And so that's how we generate a square. Now, hopefully you understand that. So if we didn't unwrap a rectangle or a square, to create those corners and the flats between those corners, Vectric would only show us just a round cylinder or something like that. We wouldn't get that effect of the square leg. And also, if it's part of our model, like I said, I have a couple of choices. If it's part of our model, then if I'm truing up and doing a rounding toolpath first, I got to be able to put the square corners back. So I need to create that part of the component. Or I've done all my prep work before I started my rotary job. In the top apron part of my table leg, I need a 3.5 inch, diameter by 6 inches tall square. It's going to go into behind the apron of the table. I just leave that alone, and I just do my carving on the rest of the leg, right? So there's two ways to kind of approach it, depending on what you're doing. All right. So let me look at the chat window. And Billy McGee really quickly says, this comes on my phone automatically, but I want to get it on my laptop so I can have a bigger screen, but I can't seem to find you. Where do I go? What do I do? Please and thank you. Billy McGee, you want to go to Spindle TV's YouTube channel, and I'll give me 2 seconds and I'll give you the link to the video. Give me just a moment. Give me just a moment. I had the link to the Dropbox, but I didn't have the link to the video. All right, live. All right, Billy McGee coming at you in the chat. Hopefully you'll be able to see the chat on your phone. That is the link to the video on YouTube. But just in the future, Spindle TV or youtube.com/@ Spindle TV /streams. If you ever, that's the full directory to the channel, but you should be able to click on that link. But just go to you if you're on your laptop and you're like, that still doesn't help me, Laney, because I can't see it. To get it, youtube.com /@ Spindle TV /streams STREAMS streams, and then you'll see the live now video right there. Cool. All right, Doug Fushi, glad you could make it. All right, so let me continue on here. What you're seeing on the screen, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this square blank, and I'm going to delete that one as well too. All right, what we are looking at on the screen are different diameters. Some squares have rounded corners. Some squares have sharp corners. Some are flat. All of these actually serve a purpose. So this square is has a size of 1.42 by 1.42 inches. And I'll show you where that number comes from in just a moment. This one is 2 inches square. This one, bless you, is 2 3/4. This one should be my full 3 3/4 or 3.5. Yep, 3.5. And then this one is slightly under, and it is like 2.9282. There's a specific reason for it, and it had rounded corners. Now, you're going to see why we created those and why we needed those and everything as we go through, but I have them pre-made. And these 3 samples here, we're going to go ahead and delete. Those are the ones we just made 2 minutes ago. And these here, you're going to notice these over here, the points are different heights. That represents different, sizes, and everything. But you'll notice there's more than 4 points here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? So let's go through the process of making just a twist, a simple 1 twist example, and then so you can see how that works and how it's created and what these vectors do. Then we'll go through and work on the leg itself. So we're going to still use our same drive rails here. Okay. I'm going to use our 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch square that we already have right there. And it's already been unwrapped using the unwrap selected object icon over here on the left. Okay. Unwrap selected object. So it's already been unwrapped. So each of these squares, their unwrapped version is right next to them. That's what you're seeing. So I'm going to take this one here, and you saw a moment ago that when I swept this profile, it just created a square blank. Okay. Well, now I need to take that square and I literally need to twist it. Take one end and turn it clockwise, the other end and counterclockwise. I need to twist it just like if I was twisting it in my hands, which of course you can't unless you're Superman. But I need to virtually do that with these vectors. So there is going to be 2 sets of vectors, but I have to represent that kind of like that twist and lift and pull and drop kind of thing. And if I want 1 twist, I need to add another point to this vector. I need to add a point on the bottom of my leading vector. And then we're going to have a second vector that I need to do the same thing on the top. But we're just going to make 1 vector and we'll just copy it. Okay. So if I were to take this vector and add an additional point to this, okay, I would need to go into node editing, and I would need to try to find my center node of all these nodes. Oh, nightmare scenario. Where's the middle, right? Well, instead of doing that, I've got a nice little tool here that I've made that represents the distance from one point to the other, and then a center line. So that way, when I do go into node editing, I can zoom in right to that node. Okay. So now I know which one to cut. So I'm going to cut it there. Okay. So this little T literally is just one line that's going from corner to corner. And then there's a middle line going out. And that all that does for me is it just allows me, when I zoom in and see all these nodes, it shows me which one's my middle one. That's all it does for me. All right. So it's a handy little tool there. All right. Let's go ahead and move that out of the way. Now, I'm going to take this vector that I just cut. I'm going to hold down the control key and I'm going to drag a copy. When you hold the control key, it makes a copy. And I'm going to snap it right to the end here. So basically, essentially completing this little arc and adding another point. Okay. Now I need to go into node editing mode. And I need to delete that span. And it's very important that you make sure that your ends snap together. Don't overlap like I just had it. Make sure they're together. Take the time. Make sure they're perfectly aligned. Now I want to go here and I want to go to my join tool and join those two separate vectors into one. Okay. And then where I cut it originally, I need to do the same thing and join that together. So this needs to be one vector. Okay. One vector. Now that's my leading one. So that's going to be at this end of my, I don't care if it's a 6-inch square blank that I need to, that I'm twisting, 12-inch, 24, whatever. I'm going to do the full length of this. So, but I need a second one at the beginning and one at the end. So I'm going to hold down my control key and drag a copy off. So now I've got two. Now here's where the magic happens. So the front one, I'm going to actually snap it to where it is even with the upper edge of my material. Okay. And you can see that half or that extra point kind of overhang here. Now my second one, it's going to get drug over here, but it's going to actually snap to the bottom edge of my material. So we want to line up, and my snapping is off today. And the this extra point is off the top now. So imagine, if you will, I kind of have this angle thing going. If I were to draw a line from here to there connecting and a line from here to here connecting, I'd have this kind of angle parallelogram type thing going on here. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to go into our line tool and we're going to take and we're going to snap a line from right here, because this is right on the edge of my board, the end of my board. Forget where the vector's placed. These two vectors are placed just here for my reference, but I'm still going from the beginning of my board to the end of my board. I'm not going past it or anything like that, okay? So here, this represents the beginning, so I'm going to just click a line there, and then I'm going to connect here. Spacebar to finish. Now, same thing here. I'm going to click a line here, and this is the end of my line, and I'm going to snap it there, the end of that vector. Spacebar to finish. Now I've created two angled drive rails that when they get angled and everything, when it goes to wrap these two parts, it's going to wrap them and close them up, and it's going to create the twist. So let's go to our 2-rail sweep tool. And I'm going to do a split screen on this. Let me see if I can get... let me see if I can... Come on now. There we go. See if we can zoom in here. All right. And let me unwrap it. I'll just, that way it creates a flat, you know, for dramatic effect. All right, let's. Laney, quit doing that. Double click flips you. All right, there we go. Okay. So now I'm going to select my two rails, bottom one first, top one second. That's going to be my drive rails. Then my profile that we just created, that's going to be what's gets swept. So that it's going to sweep between the spans. It's not going to scale with the cross section. It's just going to sweep between the spans. We're going to click apply. If you've ever created a round cylinder using the gadgets, like the wrapping gadget and everything, and you ever do a spiral in there, you'll notice that the lines get shot off the board off to infinity, because it's like the line wraps around like a big coil and everything. And so what's happening here is we've got this coil that's getting created, and the one half over here is missing from over there, because when it twists and closes up, we end up with that single twist. Okay. So let me get this turned. Let me turn off all these vectors, hide all them, pull this on here. Okay. So one extra point, single twist. Okay. Now, if I wanted 2 twists in it, I add 2 extra points. 3 twists, 3 extra points, that kind of thing. So depending on how much twist you want, determines how many points you are. So this is just a simple single twist here and everything, to where it's just a nice little contour. You'd see that in like stair railings or a banister or anything like that. If we were to pull up, bear with me. Let's go to TWIST. I thought I had the image pulled up and saved in my taskbar, but it wasn't. So let me do that now. All right. So if we were to take a look at this railing, this stair railing and everything, we have just that normal square blank, right? And then it just transitions into that twist. So imagine if this was in your Vectric software, you have, let's say, a 30-inch long block. The first 6 inches is just going to be that sweep that we just did. No adding extra points or anything like that. Just the 4 that we unwrapped at the beginning of the class. At the end, the last 8 inches would be the same thing, but right in the middle is where we'd put those 2 vectors with the extra points, one low, one high, to create our lines for our sweep. And that's how we get that sweep motion. Okay. And this is just, again, this is just kind of a single twist, right? So more twist equals more lines. So I have these 2 vectors here. These vectors here, they are, they have 6 points on them. So 2 extra points. So it's going to give me kind of a double twist. And the reason why I have 3 of them is because the middle one, this part is wider than the top part and the bottom part. So if you notice the little arc in between the points is kind of shallow, slightly deeper, more deep and everything, it's because there's a taper happening here. And you folks know about, I'm hoping by now you know that you can use more than one profile on a sweep to get different effects. You can use different shapes, and the model, when it creates, it will merge and morph into whatever the next shape is. So for those of you that are new and don't know that, let me show you, and then you'll see, why I have so many choices going on here and everything. So what I want to do is I'm going to start a new component. I am going to go into our components layer and turn that off for a minute to hide it. I'm going to just draw a simple set of profiles. I'm going to use a copy of one of these as my vector here. And let's go into node editing mode, get rid of this span. Now, let's say that my first profile is just this square piece here. But let's also say that I have a second profile that, oops, hold on a second. There we go. I got a second profile that I want to have an arc. Let's see here, to arc. And we'll make it a little shorter. And then let's say that I have a third profile and I want it to have kind of an angle shape. So I'm going to hit insert point, delete point, kind of a pyramid. These three shapes here. Now, if I take these three shapes, and we're going to use my straight rails, these two blue rails here. If I come in and I select my bottom rail, hold down the control key and select my top rail. Let's go into full on view here so you can see everything. In my two rail sweep tool, these drive rails, I can divide them up with as many cross sections as I need. Now, cross sections are our profiles, the profiles that are getting swept across the material. It's going across between one span and the other. That's our cross sections, right? So when I select this first cross section and I select on the start point of my rail, you're going to see a line kind of connect here. And let's say about midway, I select my second profile, and about midway, I come in here, and now my square shape is going to start transitioning into that arc shape. And then let's say my arc shape runs to about here. So I want to, from there, right about here, I want to finish off with the pyramid shape, right? I want to finish off with the pyramid shape. So square starts transitioning to arch, starts transitioning to pyramid, right? So I can put as many shapes and profiles and contours or whatever, and I can place them any way I want. I can slide and change the angle of my, like where it starts and stops and sweeps and everything. I can change all of that and everything. I'm just going to go with a simple straight transition. So if we were to apply this, based on these three cross sections and these three locations along my drive rails, what we end up with and let me unwrap this because this is not meant to be wrapped by any means. But what we end up with is we end up with a piece that starts off square, starts rounding because the edges are round. Remember now, these cross sections just get swept. They got stretched and swept along this part. Let's click on scale cross sections with width and redo that. It'll give me some depth and stuff. My square blank comes into the round and then transitions into the point, right? So that by creating different cross sections and sweeping those cross sections across my two rails in whatever fashion, that's how we get those transitions from one shape to another, and things like that. And when we do stuff like that, you can really start to see some pretty cool things or do some pretty cool things. Now, for those of you that have children and everything, this almost kind of looks like one of those little soapbox cars, that they race every once in a while in the Boy Scouts or what have you. This looks like it's starting to be shaped. This is the spoiler, the area where the driver is, and then it's going to, taper down, and it's going to be kind of the hood of the car. That's what I see from that shape. But anyway, you can imagine how those profiles and those shapes are made and everything while using a two-rail sweep. Okay, so enough about that. So that's how we get transitions, and that's why I have more than one profile that's sweeping across and things. That's how we're going to get the look that we want. Now, let's look at our actual table leg. Let's go into the component tree and let's delete this component. Let me look over real quick. Brooks Martin, thank you very much, man. Appreciate that super chat. Love it. Matt, as an alternative to manually editing of the unwrapped square, you can also unwrap a hexagon. Yes, you can. That is another good option as far as you're talking about to get the 6 sides or the 8 sides or this or that versus
Exactly.
unwrapping the square.
Yeah.
Yep. Very cool. Very cool. Even I can learn something nowadays. All right. So now let me get rid of my vectors here. Now the very, very curious. Now, I need to put my profile back. I forgot to hit control when I drug that profile down as a sample, and I lost it there, and it was throwing me off. I was looking at it, staring at it, going, something's missing. So let me go grab that and put that back over here. All right, now let's turn off on our layers. Let's turn off our unwrapped contours for now. And let's go ahead and these can move back to the unwrapped contour vectors. These can get deleted because they're not part of the design. And this one can go back to layer 1. It is already there. Good. Okay, perfect. All right, let's look at our actual profile. Okay, our actual profile of our table leg. So let's take and drag this up here. Our table leg. Now this line going down here just that's the line I used when I drew my profile. So I know that I'm drawing half of my leg. This started out as a rectangle that was 1 3/4 inches tall by, my table leg is 29. I drew this probably about, 33, 34 inches. And the, that, let me know where the top of my leg is and room and everything. And then once it was all done, the sides were removed and I was just left with this bottom line. This just kind of represents my center line. Without that center line, then, without that center line, the profiles, okay, and it would help if I didn't grab my drive rail with it. Okay. I grabbed all my rails with it, but those are my 2 rail sweeps. Well, that'll be good. It'll help me explain why they're sectioned off. So my profile, all the profiles does not have that bottom line, right? So we just have the profile, and the legs are important. These legs, we don't want to just have a profile go into a hump, go into an angle. It needs the leg so it knows how wide to make that part. It needs to know on this vector here that it goes a height of, what is my height here? Bear with me a second. 1.26 inches. So I multiply that by 2 and that gives me my, 2.52 inches of diameter, right? And everything. So these legs are important, but the bottom spans aren't. If you don't put the leg in there, then the software doesn't know. The software thinks that the bottom of the part, let me imagine here. Imagine if that leg wasn't there, it thinks that this is the bottom of the part right here. And so there's no height on it. It needs to know the height. So those uprights play a major role. If you're ever like, why is that doing that? Why is it not, giving me the height or the size that I need? No, make sure you've got your downward legs where they're supposed to be and everything. So the foot area here, this foot area is going to get swept. This profile is going to get swept between 2 lines here across the whole workpiece. The end rail, this red line, is also going to get swept across the whole workpiece. The rest of these parts are going to get swept kind of in a vertical fashion and stuff. You'll see in a moment when I turn on all the vectors and everything. But let's put everything back. Let me just do Control Z instead of that mouse move. Okay. And of my table leg profile, the important parts that I need are already in place, and they're positioned. They were positioned by making sure that my table leg was, centered on my workpiece. And then each section was, drug up and placed into place. Okay. So that's why they're sitting up there for you and everything. Now, let's turn off the unwrap vectors here. And let's turn on my horizontal 2 rails. I got another one turned on. Bear with me. Sample unwrap. There we go. All right. So I've got my rails back here. I've got my rails here, my red rails. Let's make one. Let's go ahead and go into the 2-rail sweep. I'm going to select my bottom red rail here, hold down the shift key and select my top red rail. I'm going to use that as my cross section, or my drive rail, sorry. Get your terminology right, Laney. Let me get this here. Let's go with a split view. All right, now I'm going to select my profile. I'm not going to scale the profile with a width. I'm only sweeping it between the spans. Sweep between the spans. And I'm going to have it merge because it's going to be, there's multiple parts here. So I'm going to set it as a merge so it merges with the other parts of the leg as they get built. So we're going to click apply. And that's going to sweep that profile between those 2 rails here. And it's going to create this sideways profile here, right? No. Let me turn it back around here, right? By sweeping horizontally this profile here, it's turned it completely 90 degrees. I need this turned back 90 degrees and swept down. So my horizontal sweep here is not the right direction. It's taking this profile. I don't care that this profile is pointing that way. It's taking this profile and it's sweeping from start to finish from the beginning of this line to the end of this line. So it created that shape from here to here. Okay. Now, Laney, why are you teaching us what not to do and the screw ups and all that stuff? Because when I was making the table leg this morning, that's the first thing that I did. And when I looked at my 3D view, I went, huh, that's odd. So it made me go back and say, oh, I'm an idiot. I've got to go into my layers and I need to draw my horizontal, or I'm sorry, my vertical lines. And I need to go back into that component and get rid of that component. But I need a vertical line at the beginning of my profile and a vertical line at the end of my profile because I need to actually sweep that shape that way across my circumference of my material. So on the 2-rail sweep, we actually want left, right. That's our drive rails. And then we're taking this profile and sweeping it right between the lines, that shape. So merge. And I'm going to call this the foot and hit apply. What we should see now in the 3D view is that shape gets swept across in this fashion. Now, when we wrap that up into its 3-dimensional view, we end up with that foot. Okay. So when it's wrapped up, we end up with that nice, cool shaped foot, right? So let's unwrap it. Excellent. All right. Now, there's another profile here, right here, that wasn't in the original leg profile. The original leg profile, this arc right here went right down to this angle. And I didn't like I liked it, but I didn't like it for the twist. I need the twist to dead end into something. And so I ended up drawing this profile in and transitioning it up here. And so that's going to be the next sweep. So we're going to start a new component. We're going to select the left rail, hold down the shift key, and the right rail. Same line does both of these parts because that's where they connect together. Same line right here. Okay. Use that as my drive rails. And then this profile is getting swept. Merge. And this is, I'm going to call this my bun. Is it a bun? I'm going to just call it a bun. That's not the right term for it, but we're going to call it a bun. Okay. So now that creates this part. And again, if I wrap it up, we have this. Now we have on the top of this, let me get over to the top. And that seam will close in just a second. We have this nice platform, if you will, this nice bun type platform that my twist can transition into really nicely, blend into and everything. So that's the next part. Now, we're going to save the best for last. The twist is going to be last, but let's jump over here. This center profile area here, again, that profile has to get swept across. So we're using vertical lines. This shape gets swept across the whole circumference. So it's vertical lines. So we're going to start a new component. Let it generate. Okay. Now left, right. You know, the order that you select the drive rails is important. I'm sweeping this part from here to here. My green start node on this part is here. My start point and everything. If I would have select this rail first and then this rail second, it would flip it 180 degrees. I don't want that. So make sure you select your drive rails in the proper order, but that's our selection. Also, very important, make sure the arrows are pointing in the right direction. All right, we're going to sweep our profile across. Again, we're not scaling, we're not stretching this or scaling it with cross sections we're just sweeping it between the two lines. So that's the only choice we have. And this is going to be my ornate sweep, I'll call it. And that's going to get swept across. All right, so now we have this shape. And when we wrap it up, we've got our table leg missing a center and a top, right? But there's our two parts so far that we've just created and everything. Now, let's look over here real quick. Awesome. Okay, we got some, hold on a second. Bear with me one moment. Got some private chat going on here. JR, yes. So really quickly, just for those of you that might be in 11.5 or 11.554 instead of 12 or something like that, in the design tools under transform objects, the second row of transform objects is that unwrap selected object tool. And 11.554, I believe it's the same thing. The icon looks a little bit different, I believe. This one is a circle with two arrows kind of like wrapping around the top of it, you know, and everything. And JR, I think that's what you were just telling me on that earlier. And would a Bezier to reduce the number of nodes? Yes. So on the profiles, really quickly, JR has pointed out something for me to mention. Let's go back to our layers real quick. On our unwrapped profiles, these here, when they're created, when these are created, they are created with a buttload of nodes, right? Okay. Now, I can use the option when I'm using the unwrap tool. I can use the option to simplify the unwrapped vectors. And if I check off simplify unwrapped vectors and I apply that, let's go over here and grab that vector real quick. This vector, if I go into node editing, is created with Bezier curves, okay, and sweeps instead of all those, node points. Now, furthermore, it's important that I don't destroy this shape. I don't distort it or anything like that, or else my square is not going to be square and all that stuff. But I could, if I wanted to, I could try to use the curve fit tool. And, with a tight tolerance and all, keep sharp corners. And I don't know what my maximum angle is here, but, I could come in and try to remove some of those points to simplify it even more and everything. But either way, as long as I don't destroy in any of the simplifying or the curve fit to redraw it, as long as I don't, screw up my shape, because when this thing wraps back around, it's got to be a square, right, for those corners. So JR, hopefully that answered your background comments for me, and thank you for that, because it's a good, people need to know that. All right. Now, let me see where we're at here. So we got our foot, our bun, and our ornate shape. We've got one more vector here that I did not make a copy of up there. So I'm going to hold down my control key and drag that up right there. I've already got the rails drawn in for it, but I didn't bring the vector up there and everything. And the control key just allows me to keep my original intact. Everything. All right. So one more sweep here. We're going to go left, right. That's our selection, profile, and merge. I'll call this my upper bun, and click apply. So after I create this, now is going to be a good time to hit save. So let me go in and let me update the model right there. Bring this into, oh, Laney, stop that. Okay, and let me bring this into full view. All right, we're going to hit save. And then let's see, there we go. I had to wait for it to save, and then I can drag a copy there and replace. Okay. So the Dropbox was just updated as well. All right. So now the next thing that we're going to do, go back into our layers. Turn those off for a moment. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is there is a vector, and let me see where it is, happens to be hiding. So that's my measurement. Give me just a second. I got to find all my stuff. Okay. Okay. I have deleted that vector, but that's all right. It's easy enough to make. Here, in this general area right here, there is going to be a second sweep where, let me turn off my verticals. Okay. And my bounding box. Give me 1 second. Bounding box. Beautiful. All right. Now, the profile here that is my full diameter of my square blank, the 3.5 by 3.5, this one here, that's this contour. This has to get swept horizontally. So these four corners have to get swept left to right, not straight across. So it's not going to be a vertical sweep. We're going to be a horizontal sweep on this. This is going to get swept up to where these red line is right here, right up to this point here. Okay. So when we hold down our shift key, I'm going to select the bottom one first and then the top one. Go into the 2-rail sweep, and that's going to be my selection. Select this profile, and it's going to be a merge. And this will be my apron block. Apron block. And now, this is where the lesson comes in. I'm going to sweep this just with one profile, this swept profile. So here we go. We're going to click apply. And it's coming. There we go. Okay. So that's that top. And if I wrap this up, you'll see that we have the, is it my, I don't know what key it is. One of my keys will keep me at the top. All right, so on my top, my apron area has to be square. This is the top of the leg. Oops. And then it transitions into the table leg, right? Now, right here where it transitions or starts to transition, I don't want this square blank here. I want it to have a bit of a taper. Okay. And I want it to go from my 3.5 inches, you know, up here. And my apron is only my apron around my table, the top, that apron under the tabletop. My apron is only 4 inches. So this square block here is 6 inches. So I have 2 inches to, you know, to do any kind of transition I want. Well, I want this to transition from my square blank I still want it to have nice sharp corners, but I want it to transition into this round. Let me get onto the screen here. I want this to transition down perfectly into this round right here. Okay. And in order to do that, I have to use two profiles. One is going to be my corner unwrapped vector that we're using here. But the second one is going to be, let me close the tool here so I can pull the second one down. One second while it updates. The second profile that I want to transition to is, here, let me move these off so you can see them clearly. So let me back this one up. Back this one up. So I want this to transition down to this. Now this particular size here, my height, my radius, half of the table leg, right? 1.464 inches. If I double that, I get my diameter, 1.464. I got to do the math. Hold on a second. 1.464 times 2 equals 2.928. Okay. Now, that's what it's going to end up being, all the way around and everything. This cylinder right there, that top of this ornate piece, that's the diameter. It's 2.9 whatever, right? That's the diameter of that. But the radius, because we're working in halves, remember the software is working in this kind of unwrapped. So it's working with half the heights and everything in certain aspects so that when it wraps it around, it creates that full. So this part right here, the height of this piece is my full 2.9. What was it? I'll get it. Hold on a second. 1.464 times 2 equals 2.928. But it's got to be the circumference. Remember, this is unwrapped, right? It's unwrapped. That's the diameter. 2.928 is the diameter, but this is unwrapped into a flat sheet. So I need to multiply that number by the letter P for pi. And that gives me my circumference, 9.198, blah, blah, blah. And if you look at the very bottom right of the screen, I don't know how clear that is in the bottom right of the screen, but that is my height. It's my circumference of that diameter, okay, of that 2.928, that's the circumference. Now the legs are the important part. These legs, remember I said you always got to have those little legs. This is the 1.464. This is half of my material thickness in that area. So that leg has to be that high. So what we're going to do is on that 2-rail sweep, instead of just sweeping this one profile across the end, I'm going to turn on my guidelines. Almost forgot what they were called there for a second. And this guideline from here, the end of my board to here, is 4 inches. Okay. And that leaves me 2 inches to the top of that ornate profile. So I'm going to sweep my corners to that 4-inch mark because my apron has to be 4 inches. I need that table leg to be able to screw into the inside corner of that apron and all. And then from there, I want it to kind of have a little transition. Now, sometimes it would probably look better if it went just a little past the apron and then transitioned, but that's not how I have it set up. So, but just know that, put it where you want. But what I need to do is I need to select my drive rail, my two drive rails here, and let me see. When I selected this drive rail, this whole top vector got selected here. So there is it's black. It's that one. Duh. I need to delete that one. Sample unwrap. I'll leave it in there for right now. Just know that turn it off for the file that I just saved, but I'll clean it up and I'll make that not part of the actual file. So I need to select my drive rails once again on that 2-rail sweep. And that's going to be my selection. Now, I select this profile first, and then I click on the green point at the beginning. I'm telling it that's where I want to start that shape. Now I select my second profile, and I click where I want it to start, where I want that transition to begin. And I'm going to do it right on this 4-inch line. Like I said, probably a little past. It would probably look better if it started transitioning after it was past the apron on the table, but we'll just go there. And then I need that profile to sweep all the way to here. Okay. So it's going to start off with my square blank, and then it's going to transition into this round here. So let's see what happens when we click apply. We're going to go merge. This, once again, is going to be called my apron block. And click apply. So we're looking over here. And what we should see is our square blank should go square and then transition into here. Well, that transition, while good and everything, it started a little bit too soon. It started a little bit too soon. So I'm going to take this one out, and I'm just going to have just the two. This one to the start, and I want it to end with this one. I need that 4-inch line there, but let's see what happens. I'm going to just re-click apply. So I took out that start, and I'm hoping that it starts transitioning later. Okay. Not yet. Let's make sure. Let's reset. All right, let's do that one more time. I just want to make sure that I'm right. 1, 2. That's my drive rails. This is going to start there. And then this one is going to end there. And I think I need it to start transitioning. I'm just going to pick a spot right there and click apply. It is doing what I'm telling it to do, but it's not doing what I wanted to do. Kind of curious. I'm kind of curious if this is a 12.0 thing. No, that's because your boy's an idiot. All right. The reason why it's transitioning is because it's automatically starting as soon as I said, hey, go from this to this, it's like picking the best transition point to just start transitioning. What I need to do is I need to reset that, and I need to tell it to take one profile from one point to another, then start transitioning. And here's what I mean by that. So we're going to clear our rails, and I'm such a goober. We're going to go select. That's going to be our drive rails. This profile is going to start here, okay? And I want it to end here, okay? So I want it to transition. I want that one profile to start there and end here. And then I want this profile to start transitioning here to there. I needed my two red nodes, you know, that which is identified, you know, red and the white. But I need that transition to stay. I need that shape to stay as long as it can, at least at the 4 inches, then start transitioning. So now when I click apply, it will stay the square block for that 4-inch length. Then it will start transitioning down into that round, which is what I want. And like I said, it's probably because right at that 4 inches, you know, that's where the apron of the table is. It might look nicer to have a little bit of square leg showing past the apron and then transition. And if that's the case, while the tool is still open and everything, we can simply take this, this, and we can move it down a little bit. Oops. All right, bear with me. I got to get my 90 degrees happening here. There used to be, I can't remember off the top of my head what the keyboard shortcut is for that. But there we go. So I'm going to have it go just a little bit beyond the 4 inches. I'm going to click apply again. And that's going to bring that square down just a little bit past the 4 inches. Then it'll start transitioning just a little further down. Awesome. All right. So, and there's always a, let's get this back into full view. Let's get our top view going on here. Okay. So now on our top view, or our top leg, we have our 4-inch apron square block. Then it's going to start transitioning down to the top of that table leg. It's going to give it a nice transition down into the top of that table leg. All right, drum roll. The time we've all been waiting for is now. We need to do our cross section sweeps. Now, on the cross section sweep, this area up here at the top is larger than the area here at the bottom, the height differences and everything. And so on the standard leg height here, which was the, if I measured, let me show you what I did here just to get the dimensions and stuff. me get back to the tools and on the measure tool. So basically 1 inch up is half, the distance that I need. It's going to be 2 inches. I'm using a 2-inch block, but basically from here up to right about here, it's about 1.28 inches, a little over 1 1/4 and everything. And so what I ended up doing was on our profiles, here, I have a 2 3/4, and then this one is a 2. So half of that is 1 inch, and this 2 3/4 is 1 3/8. And that 1 3/8 is just a little bit higher. It comes right into the curve up here a bit and all. So this profile, this 1 3/8, which is 2 3/4, 2 extra points were added to it, and that's that one. And then my 1 inch, 2-inch block, so half radius, 1 inch radius. This profile here is this one with 2 extra points added to it. And then this one is 1.42 inches, 0.72 inches. That's because right here at the foot, that's about the diameter inside of that round bun there. That's this one here, and it's going to transition to that. And so on this, my first profile, the top edge gets lined up, and I don't care where. It could be back here, it could be up there. It's just, it needs to be somewhere in line. And I like putting the corner, like the, not the point corner, but the corner of where my leg is. I like putting that right where it's supposed to start, because what that does for me, it gives me my point where I can start, down here. And my vector is a little bit off. I got to move it, but that's fine. Let me zoom in. Help if I snap to my lines. There we go. By the way, that black line represents the top of the material there. All right, and so that gives me my starting point for this leg. But notice if I move this profile just a minute, notice this has a straight leg here. I want my twist. I don't want my twist to just start right at the top and just start twisting. I want it to have a nice kind of square, and then start twisting. I want it to have like a little bit of a transition before it starts twisting. So this profile is gonna get swept this distance here. Let me see if you can see that. It's going to get swept this distance right here before it starts twisting. So that little leg actually serves a purpose. It's going to get swept a little bit, and then it's going to start twisting. And I don't know why my snaps are off. I got to go into version 12 and set my snaps up. And then my end, we'll focus on the end one. Oops. That's going to go in line here where it ends. It's going to end right there. Should be right on that corner. Perfect. I'm going to end there. Don't worry about the vector running into this vector. It has nothing to do with it. It's following these lines, not this shape. This shape is just the swept profile that we're creating. Now, I want a little bit of a bold. So this is 0.78 or 0.72, so 1.42 inches in diameter. That's this one. This one is my 2 3/8. 2 3/4, sorry, 2 3/4, 1 3/8. And then this one is my 1 inch. Now, what I actually want what I actually want is I want this one in the middle. I want it bulging out. I'm going to put that one in the middle. This one is the one I want at the beginning. Okay. Now here's the important part of these, even though we have these extra hooks, right? The first one goes, the leg is even with the top. So the overhang is going to be at the bottom. The end, the leg is going to be connected to the bottom and the overhang is at the top. It's important that we have that twisting motion. The middle doesn't matter. Okay. The middle can be just anywhere because it's still following this route here. It's just going to get bulgier because of the bigger profile. Okay. So what I do want is I do want to create a center line. I would like this bulge to be perfectly centered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line. This is going to be for layout purposes only. I'm going to draw a straight line from here to here. So, and I said I was going to draw a straight line, but that is absolutely not straight at all. Let's do that again. Is my smart? Oh, my smart snapping is off. That's why. Better snap to it. There we go. Okay. Now, important. It snapped to the wrong vector. I need to be back here. And the reason why it's important is because this line I'm drawing, I'm actually going to use the center portion of it. So I can draw a line down the center. .90 degrees straight down. This way, I know where to click when I click my little points, you know, where it's going to start transitioning from wide to narrow to wide, you know, kind of thing. I want to be able to know where to click. So that's, instead of using a line, I'm just using a regular line. All right. So I got that. Here we go. The 2-rail sweep. So bottom rails first, top rails second. Use that as my drive rails. This profile is going to go to here, or start there. Sorry, not go to here. This profile, oops. This profile is going to start there. Now, I don't want to create a start and end point like I did earlier, you know, on that square block. I need this to start transitioning into the fatter part immediately. I need to start kind of tapering, you know, like a, you know, tapering outward. And then from here, this profile, select your profile first and then select the point where it ends, the cross section. Okay. So now merge that in. This is going to be my twist. And let's go full 3D screen for this one. All right. We're going to go ahead and click apply. Okay. Now, if we look carefully, I'm going to unwrap this. My swept profile at this end went past the leg, right? So it's blending into that leg right there. That's not what I want. It needs to transition right into this bun here, not go past. So when we're wrapped up, you can see that my, oops, my vector was a little long. It was in the wrong spot. And so going back to the 2D view to look at that, my straight leg, it did exactly what I had it set up for. My straight leg actually is back here when it should be this whole vector. Let me close this tool. All right, let me take my twist and just delete that for a moment. All right, this vector, my sweep here, I've got a leg on the end of it. So remember how I said it kind of, it's going to go into the twist and it's going to transition kind of straight. Well, I drew the leg and it's kind of gone past. So I need to go into node editing. And I just basically need to bring this down. Get it to snap in place there. I need to bring it. Man, my snap is off today. I need to bring it right there. So when it starts to twist, it'll transition into that straight there. And I need to do the same thing up here. So I'm going to select the two nodes. And all I'm doing is I'm just dragging it straight back. Snapping it there. That node is in line. That's my line. That's where this vector is right here. So if I were to put a guideline there, right, you can see that guideline right there. Okay. All right. So all I have to do is simply resweep that. And we're done. All right. So this rail first, hold down the shift key. This rail second. Drive rails. This profile is going to be the first profile. It's going to start back here. And this second profile, select that second, it's going to go right there. And this third profile is going to go right there. All right, let's go ahead and merge. We'll call it sweep. Twist, not sweep, twist. Profile. All right, let's go back to the 3D view and click apply and fix that. I'd like to see a fillet in the corner of your 2D profile, just me. Yeah. All right, perfect. And so let me zoom in so you can see what's happening here. So that twist transitions right down into that bun. And I should have it go in a little bit more or have my bun a little bit taller. I'll make my bun a little bit bigger, slightly bigger for a little bit better transition. But hold on a second. Brooke said, I'd like to see a fillet in the corners of your 2D profile, just me. A fillet on the upper or on the twist. A fillet instead of sharp corners, rounded fillet on those edges. That's fine too. You can do that. It doesn't have to be sharp points like this. They can be rounded. You just fillet the corners. Yeah. All right. On the upper, no. Can't fit a square peg in a round hole or a round peg in a square hole. My apron and everything, that's where it gets all screwed and bolted in the inside of the table and all that stuff. So I need square reference points there and all. But as far as the twist, sure, we could do rounded on that, not a problem. The one thing I do want to do, but though, is I want to close this. I want to take in my component tree, this component here, the bun, I want to turn that off for a minute. I want to actually go into node editing, and I want to bring it up just a little bit, not a lot. Right there is good. And I want to re-sweep that. Two-rail sweep. All right, I just want to re-sweep that profile one time. Sorry, Matt, I had to mute your microphone for a minute. That's going to be a merge. All right. Revised bun. Revised bun. Apply. Now, let's take 2 seconds and we'll use the same set of vectors. So, and let's look at what Brooks Martin was talking about. We're going to start a new component. Now, I've already got my lines drawn out here, so my vectors don't have to stay here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them because I've already got my vector lines laid out. Let me close this tool. So I'm going to move this one up here, this one up here, and this one up here. Now I'm going to take all 3 of these. I'm going to hold down the control key and I'm going to drag a copy of them. I'll just drag them over here. All right, because I don't want to destroy my original ones. Now let's go to the fillet tool. And on the fillet tool, let's go ahead and put a 1/4 inch fillet and see. Not bad. All right, let's go. Bam, bam. Walking through. Zoom in, get there so it knows what point that you're, because there's multiple nodes. All right, 1. All right, so now, same thing, same scenario. We're going to go to 2-rail sweep. I don't have to put these in position because I've already got my vector lines here, right? So all I have to do is select my first drive rail, second drive rail, use that as my selection. This will be the first one, so I'll just click there. This will be the second one. Click there. This will be the third one. Click there. I can go ahead and this will be my filleted twist. Merge. Apply. We'll turn off the cornered one. And that's up. Yeah, I'm not doing the upper one, Brooks. That's my apron It's going to be, that's for my apron so I can get screw in and everything. I don't want rounded corners up there. But yes, you could. Absolutely. You could put it wherever you want. You can put fillets everywhere. All right, let's go ahead and close that tool. Let's go to the components. The twist profile, turn the original twist profile off. Drag this one down under that bun. And then go into the 3D view. And so it goes. All right, now let me go back and look at my 2D profiles for just a moment. So when you have a profile that you forget to put a radius on because you're jumping around and everything, and every other one of them is filleted except for the one, you end up with one square transition right there, right? So give me just a second. Let's fix a fillet. All right. Round, 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 round. Okay, wonderful. One more time, and then we will end there. This and that. Let's go into the 2-route sweep. This profile starts here. This profile transitions. Oops, missed that whole one. Transitions there. And then this profile there. Merge. Now, we could, Brooks, we could create a second profile. Not really, because I'm already going at the 4-inch. I'm about to say, if you really want fillets and all coming out of the apron, but in the apron, it's going to be square. All right, so let's go to the 3D view. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see a sharp corner there. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is our, let me see if I can get a nice, bear with me. Come on, front. See if I can get it to spin around. Back. You're killing me, man. Bear with me. I got to find my right combination there. You can do it. You can do it. You can't do it. I was hoping a double click would solve the problem. There we go. That'll be good enough. All right. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, is our table leg project for the evening. Hopefully you found something interesting out of it. But what Brooks is wanting is up here, these fillets and everything. And let me say this. What I would like to see is I I'd like this to be rounded, I'd like it to be rounded right here at the bottom. So I fill it down here, you know, so it's not flat right there. So it has a little bit of a transition, but that's not this part. That is this part. So here, if I were to put just really quickly, really quickly, if I were to, let's go with a full 1/2 inch. Is it going to let me put a 1/2 inch there? Maybe not. Let's try 375. No. 1/4. Okay. 1/4. All right. Now, I'd like to see that much better. So if I go back into here and here, let's go to components, and that upper ornate sweep, will turn that off for right now. And go back into the 2-rail sweep. And re-sweep this part. Ornate upper 2. And then we come back into here. We have a little bit better transition into that, you know, that bottom cove there, instead of, you know, that square blank, you know. But yeah. And of course, fillets and all could be done there, but this goes up in my framing and everything. I don't want nice edges. I want my corner to be tight and everything when I put my bolts and stuff in and all that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get the guys back up screen. That is going to complete. While I say that, let me go ahead and hit save. File. Save. And then I'll save it in. All right, guys, here we go. Coming back on screen. Oh. And let me bring myself up. All right, you can unmute yourselves, or did I? Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. On your microphones. There you go, Matt. All right.
Great job.
Oh, hold on, JR. Let me,
You didn't make it.
no, let me take him out of the equation for a minute. Give me just 1 second. Take him back, leave him backstage for a moment. I put one of y'all to sleep. All right. He's a hardworking man. Okay. So that file was saved, and it is now, give me just 1 second. It's 9:34. That did go through. Copy to version 12. Okay. So the Dropbox has been updated as well too. So if any of you want to pull that down, and they'll, what do you think, Matt? I know you said you were working in a trial version of Aspire.
Everything worked perfect.
Yeah, pretty cool. Good stuff.
Yeah. So I don't have to buy it yet, but I really was able to. It's really nice when you're doing things for me to break away and just try something, And that's
sure.
what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. if you don't mind, Matt, I got an opportunity to work with Matt last month and everything, and Matt is a genius when it comes to. He's got some very cool CNC machines that do some very cool things, and I was impressed with what you got going on there, Matt. Matt has on his CNC, he's made a 5th axis. He's got an axis that rotates for making bowls and stuff, and it's beyond me, and it's, and stuff like that. But I really enjoyed that conversation with you, with our one-on-one and stuff. And for you gold members, just keep in mind, you do get one-on-ones with me. Each month you can set up a one-on-one meeting and work with me. Use your Meet link to schedule your appointment if you want to just get advice, if you want to talk about a project, if you want help with anything. Gold members use that Meet link and everything for sure. And then also all of the members, the Facebook group, if you have Facebook, if you have not joined the exclusive Facebook group yet for Spindle TV, it's not searchable by the public. You can't go hunting for it and all. It won't show up in any searches or any results. It's invite only. I got to invite you. So, let me know. You can email me. My email will be up on the screen here in 2 seconds. But you can email me, and if you didn't get your Meet links, gold members, if you didn't get your Meet link, email me and I'll send that out to you, especially you new gold members. And then also, if any of you want to email me because you forgot your coupon codes for your discounts, silver members get a 10% discount off of the Build It TV shop. Gold members get a 50% discount. So if you forgot your discounts, coupon codes, email me at that email and I'll send that out to you and everything, so you have it if you ever need anything, any one of our projects and stuff. And yeah, so hopefully tonight's class is it was interesting. But next week, we're going to go back and we're going to talk about that billiard sign. We're going to finish it up, but we're also going to talk about V-carving. For those that have, V-carve, Vectric V-carve, Desktop Pro, or Aspire, we are going to V-carve that sign with raised letters and everything to give it a cool look and stuff. And we're going to do it as a V-carve. So stay tuned for that next week. But Matt, thanks for joining me online. JR, thanks for joining me online. I know after a long day, it's hard to, stick around. And I'm glad you guys do. I appreciate everything you do for me. Brooks Martin, thanks for the super chat. That money helps out a lot. I appreciate that. And how's the shop coming? The shop is doing well. So I still don't have electric in it, but it's fully built. It's fully packed with the equipment and stuff. Right now, my 4x4 and my 2440 are in my smaller shop working. I actually I had some acrylic parts I had to cut for a customer, and had to get that done. But the machines are running great. This week, I have a meeting with the city engineer, because that's what we're waiting on. The city engineer they've got all my motor information, all the specs of every piece of equipment and the motors and amps and everything. And they're supposed to be figuring out how big of a transformer needs to be replaced at the end of my street here, not the end of my street, but the end of my drive, because they have to drop in a new pole for the building. And the city engineer, she's been working on this. Just in case she watches, I love the city of Ocala, but that's what we're waiting on before the electricians can do anything. We got the city engineer has to get it done and get the drop in and all that stuff. So that's what we're waiting on. and it's been a few months. We'll get it there. But I got a meeting with the city of Ocala to see, where we're at and what's going on. And then hopefully I'll be able to, I'm doing all the, we have an electrician. They're going to do all the main oversight and everything. But that's what I used to do for a living. I'm just not licensed, but I used to do commercial and residential electric. So I'll be doing all the electric inside. And then the final hookups and all the electrical company will be doing. And everything. They have to pull the permit and all that stuff. But I've worked for them before, so they know my work. So they're like, yeah, so it'll save me a little bit of money. All right, but that's how it's going, Brooks. We're waiting. The speed of the government. Yeah, that's right. Now, the city of Ocala is great. I love you guys, but give me some power. But that's where we're at. And man, I'm ready to stretch my legs. I've got a 4x4 machine in my smaller shop building. And it's crazy. I just put on a spoil board on the 4x4 this past weekend. And I'm getting ready to design. And let me know if this might interest you or not for a class. I'm getting ready to design the plenum for the 4x4's vacuum table. The designing of the plenum grid and and everything and all. If that would interest you, it's working with vectors. We're pocket cutting and stuff like that. But if it would interest you to see the plenum design in a class or something like that, if that would be one of our classes, we could do it for sure. But otherwise, that's my next project. Is I got to build a plenum. I built just a regular basic waste board, but now I got to do a plenum for vacuum because I'm going to be hooking vacuum up to it. All right, everybody. Well, listen, I appreciate each and every one of you. Matt, thanks for coming online. JR, I think JR is with me. Let's get JR back on stage to say goodbye to him. JR, how you doing, bud? I got your message that you had to step out. I accidentally didn't see that message until too late, JR, and so everybody knows that I bored you to death.
Sorry about that.
But hey, it's a long day. I told him, I said JR is a hard worker. So that was on me. I got to start reading private chats. But anyway, we had a good class. Files are uploaded and everything. I will be, just so you know, everything except for the radius corners on the twist, the version 11.5 file, for those of you that are working for the 11.5 file, all the model components are there and everything. This whole table leg as it is there. It's just the twist has square corners, sharp corners instead of radius corners, right? So I'll update it and I'll add that in and you'll be able to download that. All right, everybody. Until next time, thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate you. And we'll see you. Hopefully, hey, I have a live class tomorrow. It's just a public class for everybody on Spindle TV. Don't know what the topic is yet, but come on in and join me. We're going to be starting at 8:00 p.m., and it's only going to be 1 hour long. All right, and I'm really 1 hour long. 1 hour and 25 minutes at the most. That's my cushion, but 1 hour for the Thursday night class. If you want to hang out with me, I'll have the links posted later. See y'all.
All right. Thanks.
See ya.